Grand Rising Divine Legends. This practice is to invite you to get some props. I'm going to show you how you can use your blocks to really get aligned and to really strengthen or lengthen some muscles in your body that you would really want to have some support. And coming off of a training just over the weekend, which was in particular anatomy and alignment, a lot of it was refresher for me, but I did take away some new languaging that I want to bring into this practice today, and really thought about when we were in the last part of the training, why we would want to use our blocks, not only to lend support in a posture for alignment, right? To better align. And with alignment, we're going to get better balance in our bodies. And another big reason is to start to practice receiving support. So I am about learning to receive, being one of the greatest gifts you can ever give yourself. I've truly come to realize that receiving has been a lot of my journey, learning to receive support, learning to receive prosperity that's been there, learning to receive wisdom that's been there, learning to receive love that has been all around, within, without. It's been here. It's been here for me to learn to receive. And I know that for a lot of us, we are very good givers. We're out there giving, 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 giving. And learning to or practicing receiving can be such a great way to bring balance into our experience in this lifetime. So a lot of why I want to invite you to invest in a pair of blocks, and they are really accessible. You can get them for about $5. I know that I've even seen them at the Five Below store, $4 or $5. So there are ways to get a pair of blocks for very inexpensive. And until you can invest in an actual pair of blocks, which is that foam lightweight block, you might find a thick book off your bookshelf that could be used in the interim. And you would want two of them for one of the poses that we're going to do today. I'm going to grab two that are of fairly similar width. These two that I'm going to grab off my bookshelf over here that are similar, to show you how you would use those if that's what you have today. So my invitation is to maybe come back to this practice after you've been able to go get a pair of blocks, or pause and go find some books if you know that's what you have for now, and come back and meet me on the mat in that easy seated position, one leg in front of the other, and it doesn't matter which one it is. And now that we're back here, let's just start to wiggle a little bit and really ground down into this mat and lengthen the spine. So much about bringing balance back into the body is finding a healthy spine, finding that healthy spine, knowing that with that healthy spine, the length between the vertebrae, right, the space to move and all the systems operate in ease and grace. So much of the imbalance that we find will present as dis-ease. And when we get real curious and want to go deeper than the surface of addressing the effect of the imbalance, we will often find that it is something deep within the root cause of that imbalance. And it has started typically emotionally, spiritually, long before it shows up in the physical. The physical is the last place that that imbalance shows up. But we can start to address a lot of the imbalance within the physical body. And we start every practice by finding length in the spine, finding that length in the spine. And we want to really pay attention to those cervical vertebrae and not crunching them, right? Keeping that chin parallel to the floor, keeping that length through the back of the neck. And then you want to find that your shoulders are back and down away from your ears. Working at a computer, most of us, or in front of our devices a lot of the day, our shoulders start to come forward. And so to bring that balance back into the body, right, we're rolling those shoulders up and back, finding that length through the back of the neck, through the spine. Let's begin to breathe. Now, taking the hands to the belly so that you can actually feel your belly extend out as you take that inhale. You want that belly originating low down in your belly and then blow that out like a candle. Feel that belly come back in toward your spine. Do that again. Inhale, extending out from the belly. The breath comes up through the chest, through the throat, and then blowing that out like a candle. Do that 2 more times. Last one. Now take your hands to your knees, close your eyes down, breathe on your own. Keep the long spine, that chin from lifting or tucking, connecting with your own breath, maybe keeping the breath within the body by keeping the lips closed. The breath moves in and out the nose alone. Checking in, doing a scan from the top of your head down through the sides, relaxing your jaw, allowing the tongue to come off the top of your mouth, finding that long neck, finding your shoulders soft, finding that length through your torso. Arms are heavy, hands resting at the knees, finding those hips beginning to feel some sensation as we're seated with that length in our spine. It's beginning to open up the hips. You may feel that. Heavy through the hips. Thighs are opening up. You may feel your inner thighs here a little bit. Down through the knees, heavy. Down through your calves. Down through the ankles. Feel the bottoms of your feet. Wiggle toes. And then take another breath here in stillness. Good, and then wiggle the eyes open. We're going to start to inhale, arms overhead. Bringing palms together and exhaling hands through heart center, really pressing the palms into each other so that you start to open the wrists. Inhaling, lifting up, finding your fingers spread so the whole arm lengthens. You find that stretch through the side body, pressing the palms together as you come through heart center with that exhale, feeling the wrist starting to open up. One more, inhaling, reaching up, feel that length through the side body. Fingers spread nice and wide. Bring the palms together. Press them as you come through heart center on that exhale. Good. And then we're going to find our first posture with our book or our block. We're going to come on to our feet and we're going to talk about why this posture and why the prop that I'm using. So oftentimes when we are aging or an injury in our younger years, lots of reasons why we might have external rotation in the hip. And you can see it quite clearly by just taking a simple standing posture, standing without thinking about it, and you may notice that one of your feet is turned out, and that would be external rotation coming at your hip, which would be a tighter adductor, and where we might want to strengthen our abductor, to lengthen the adductor, to bring that hip more into alignment, right? With that hip point over the knee, over the ankle. One of the ways that we can really strengthen those abductors and lengthen this adductor is by taking that block, or the book works too, and pressing it between our thighs. So it looks like this, right? It's going to be a little tighter if you have a smaller tool, you're going to want to bring those legs together a little closer. And you want to find that you're sitting back first with a long spine, keeping that long neck and spine that we found in that seated position, finding a tight belt around your waist to protect your low back as you sit your hips back and you're hinging from your hips, sitting back into that chair. Knees are not moving, right? By squeezing that block together, this is another thing, is you're helping the alignment of your knees, staying over that second toe. And then you don't want to come so low that you're rounding down, right? You want to pay attention to how far you come back, keeping this alignment, keeping this long spine, squeezing the block so you're turning those abductors on. You should feel your adductors starting to lengthen, especially if they're tight. If you have that external rotation, you're going to feel that stretching through your external rotators here. And then keeping that belt tight and your tailbone long, right? You don't want to lift it and get that curve through your low back. You want to lengthen your tailbone, pick your abs up to keep that flat back, that long spine, and the shoulders stay soft away from your ears. And then we can work this. We can flow this a little bit. So we're going to inhale, lift arms overhead as we stand tall, and then come through heart center as we exhale and sit back into that chair. And so we'll just flow a little bit with the breath. Inhaling up, squeezing that block between the thighs. Exhaling, sitting down into that chair. Remember, paying attention, not going so deep that you're losing your alignment. Inhale, reach up, fingers spread so you feel the arm engaged all the way through the shoulder girdle, feeling that stretch down the side of the body. One more inhale up. Squeezing that block, feeling those inner thighs engage, and exhaling down. And so that's something that you could repeat to strengthen those inner thighs with your tool. Another posture that I want to show you, we're going to come back down onto the floor. And this is where two blocks come into play. So the forward fold from seated position, tight hamstrings. This is an excellent posture to lengthen out your hamstrings, also to work on that external rotation in a hip. You're going to see that with the feet splayed open. So for your forward fold, bringing either your books on either side of you or your blocks. Have them about where your knees are. And then we find that tall spine again. Find that tall spine, roll your shoulders up and back away from your ears to open the chest, keeping that stretch, right? Because so often we're here, so we're countering what we're doing all day by bringing those shoulders open and stretching the chest open. Keep that belt tight around your waist, always protecting your low back, and your chin stays parallel to the floor. It doesn't lift, crunching your cervical spine. It doesn't tuck, right? Creating imbalance through the neck. Parallel to the spot, to the floor. And then hands at the blocks as you start to flex your feet and bring your legs a little bit closer so that you can glue the toe mounds. The toe mounds are that bony part on each side of your big toe, and you want to glue the toe mounds together. And that's going to keep that alignment of your hip to your knee to your ankle, engaging those abductors, stretching through the adductors, countering that external rotation, right? If that's your issue, you're finding some counterbalance there. And then hands on the blocks with your flat back, not rounding at all from that low back, not turtling down, getting that big curl through your thoracic spine, staying flat, reaching tall, shoulders soft away from the ears, and walk forward by resting forearms on blocks. Finding that forward fold in your aligned posture where you're going to get a much better stretch, strengthen, and you're really going to find the balance that yoga is meant to bring into your body. I'm bringing props in and I'm showing you how to get into some of these postures that maybe you've never taken the time to get coached through. in what we're actually doing in them and how we can actually benefit from these postures. So a lot of times you'll go into a yoga class and the instructor may assume that you know a lot more than you do. So I'm taking the time to break some of these postures down, showing you how you can bring your tools in and really strengthen and lengthen weaker or tighter areas of your body. And honoring where you're at and practicing bringing in support. It's a holistic approach. Definitely. Taking one more breath here. And then lifting that upper body up. And let's bring that right foot into that inner left thigh. And we're going to fold down the one leg. So again, you can bring your blocks by the side of the leg. Keep that tall spine again. Tight belt around the waist. Take an inhale here. And as you exhale, fold forward. Keep that long spine. Belt tight, go slow. Bring the blocks closer to you if you need that. Resting those forearms on the block. Keep your heart opening up. Your chin is not tucking. Keep that foot flexing, toes pulling toward your face to keep that alignment down your hip to knee to ankle. Taking one more breath here. Maybe getting a little lower on that exhale. And inhale, lift up. And we'll switch out the leg tucked in. And same idea, blocks will surround the leg, tall through the spine, don't tuck the chin, keep that foot flexed. Take an inhale here. And exhale, start to come forward, finding your forearms on the blocks. Keep the heart opening, chin from tucking. Breathe into this big stretch down the back of your leg. It's what we're doing. We're stretching those hamstrings down into the calf. Supporting the low back with those belt tight around your waist. Keep your shoulders soft. Take one more breath here. Maybe get a little lower on that exhale. Keep the flat back as you come down, not curling over at all. And then inhale, lift up. And exhale, take that leg forward and pat the legs gently to release. The last posture we're going to work on in this class is the crocodile, the high-low push-up, the chaturanga. So a lot of reason why I want to do this is because there's so much risk in the chaturanga, the half push-up, the crocodile. You'll hear it termed a lot of different things. And if you are never taught correctly how to engage the muscles, what you're supposed to be aligning, you are really putting your body at risk, in particular your shoulders and the neck area. Really, it's the neck and the shoulders that are really highly at risk in that high-low push-up if you don't know alignment, if you've never been taught what you're supposed to engage there. So we're going to start in a tabletop. And I'm going to piece it one layer at a time. And we'll start with the tabletop. You want this block or book to be about the middle of your mat under your chest. And we'll start with the tabletop. So under the chest, it's going to be your hands are framing that block. With a flat back, we'll wiggle the tail a little bit from side to side. Check our alignment. Make sure hands are under shoulders, knees are under hips. You can feel right away if you need to adjust your alignment any bit there to get that really nice straight line, shoulder right over wrist, hip right over knee. And then when you feel good with the alignment, come with some cat-cow breaths through center. You'll inhale, lift your chin, lift your tailbone with the inhale, and then push the floor away, round and scoop the belly, tucking the chin in as you exhale. And we'll flow that with the breath a few times, articulating the spine through that extension and flexion. knowing how much that helps bring balance into the body. One more. And exhale. So coming through center, and we'll talk about what you want to engage here when you're coming through your high-low push-up. So from here, because I know we're really far off from chaturanga, but we're in the tabletop to start because I want to talk about what you want to engage here. So with a tight belt around your waist to protect your low back, you're going to imagine there's tennis balls underneath your armpits and you're squeezing them in. So just notice what my arm did there. So before, I've got kind of a straight arm, right? Elbows are poking out a little bit, facing off to the side. And to get this shoulder really tucked in underneath that shoulder girdle so that there's not this action when you come into that high-low push-up. Your shoulder girdle is not coming way up into your ears. You want to engage the arm into the socket. And you can do that by imagining there's a tennis ball under your armpit. And so from tabletop, we're just going to practice that a few times. So elbows go soft. And now squeeze that tennis ball under your armpit. Feel that. Release it. Elbows go soft. Do it again. Squeeze that tennis ball under your armpit. Release. Elbows go soft. One more time. Squeeze that tennis ball under your armpit. Feel that. Belt tight around your waist to protect your low back. And then let that go. Now watch where we go. When we squeeze, again, squeeze that tennis ball under your armpit. And then lower your chest down and touch the block with the chest. So from here, I'm really low in the tabletop. Obviously, I need to be in that kneeling plank to really show what I'm trying to do here. But I wanted to practice from tabletop, squeezing that tennis ball under your armpit so you can feel that motion. And then we'll get into that kneeling plank where this block will actually be under the chest. So take your hands up towards your shorter edge and find the tops of your knees, shifting forward onto the tops of your knees so that you're in your kneeling plank. Now, kneeling plank is not here. Your pelvic floor should not be touching your block. That block is a little bit higher, so it's under the chest. Hips stay lifted so that the abs stay engaged. Squeeze that tennis ball under your armpit and lower halfway. This is as far as you should ever come in that half push-up chaturanga crocodile. You don't ever want to come lower than that block. You want to have that block to test where your body is in real time in that chaturanga half push-up crocodile. So often people are way down here and then they're pushing up into up dog, bringing the shoulder girdle. They have not made space to come all the way through and lengthen through the thoracic spine. Look at the difference. When we have the block there, taking an inhale, squeezing that tennis ball under the armpit so the elbows skim the body as you lower down, keeping the elbows tugged in, and then lengthening through that thoracic spine is where we find the length. We're not crunching through the vertebrae at all. And it's much safer if you notice shoulders are over wrists, not way up here, which is so often what you're going to see when you haven't been coached or shown proper alignment and why you want proper alignment. And over time, that's the rotator cuff tearing. And let's go through it. From that kneeling plank, we're going to flow a little bit with this prop, and you're going to feel the difference. So with an inhale, lengthen through the spine, squeeze that tennis ball under your arm, belt is tight around your waist. Exhale, lower halfway, barely touching the block with your chest. Inhale, lift back up, and exhale, pull back into a child pose with long arms. We'll do that again. Inhale up into your kneeling plank, squeeze that tennis ball under your arm. halfway down with your exhale, touching the block with the bottom of your chest. Inhale, lift up, strengthening through the triceps and biceps. That would be why we're doing that. The stronger we get through the triceps, the more we can hold in our plank pose and go into the half push-up from there. Inhale, come forward, plank pose, lengthen through the spine, belt tight around your waist. Keep those hips lifted up. They're not dipping down. Hugging the body with the elbows as you lower down onto that block, barely touching it. Push back up, straight up, and then exhale, child pose. One more. Inhale, come out. Exhale, halfway down. Touch the block. Inhale, lift up, pushing straight up, finding that bicep, tricep strength, and exhale back into child pose. Come all the way back, heavy through the hips onto your heels. Head comes down to the mat. Take the hands back by the heels. Tuck your thumbs in, cross the fingers over the thumb, and roll your wrists out both directions here. Breathe into this. One more breath here. Good, and then we're going to come up, and I'm going to show you the full plank pose, crocodile, chaturanga, high-low push-up from the toes, and why you would want to use the block. Maybe for some time to really find that good alignment in your body so that you can start to practice that good alignment, saving yourself from any kind of injury. So always we're going to want to shift forward on our toes so that when we come down, the elbows skim the body, the chest barely touches the block, and then we are pulling through, lengthening through the thoracic spine, not crunching into the vertebrae at all, right? Pelvic floor may barely touch that block if you've got a deep back bend that feels good in your body, right for your body, right? And then you're coming, rolling over the toes back into down dog. I'm going to show you that one more time, what you're looking for in alignment. Coming out into the full plank pose, shifting forward so that you're finding the elbows skimming the body and you can pull through, barely touching the block with your chest, pulling through, lengthening through your thoracic spine, finding that length, finding that strength, not pulling the shoulder girdle up into your ears. Right? That's why that block, that prop can be so helpful in your practice and to learn the good alignment. And I'm someone who doesn't even typically stay on my toes in the chaturanga any longer because I had an injury on this elbow some years ago. So I will typically in class when I'm teaching lower to my knees and go down into that cobra. I don't ever really do up dog, but I wanted to show you what it looks like because I know that a lot of you still do. And I want to encourage you to learn that alignment, to learn that really good sequencing of keeping those shoulders over wrists, of pulling through in your plank pose to give yourself room and only coming down halfway, that the elbows only ever come here. They're not way back here. You're never lower than your elbows and your shoulders. You do not want to risk injury there. So only coming that halfway and then pulling all the way through. So you have to have that forward motion in your plank pose. Otherwise, this is what happens if you don't pull forward on your plank, if you're not shifting onto the tips of your toes, if you're trying to do it here, you don't have the space to pull through. See how much my shoulder girdle is still way up there? You've got to shift forward to make that space to then pull through all the way. And you see me drop to my knees just to support myself and encouraging you to maybe go out and invest in some blocks for your practice because they can make such a difference in some of these postures. Those are the ones I'm bringing today. Of course, there's more, many more, but I'm going to begin. This is the beginning of a series where I'm going to show you what you can use in terms of prop, because I want yoga to be so healing for your body, not only physically, but emotionally and spiritually as well. And I know it's possible. And I know that when we bring props in, when we know alignment better, we do better in the practice, we get more out of the practice. And getting more out of the practice makes us better human beings, truly. So with that, I'm going to take us out with a little breath work today. Taking the shoulder rolls back from the ears. You can see me sitting on my heels. If that doesn't feel good to you, take that simple seated position, right? And then find where you want to take your hands on your knees, maybe to the sides of you. I have them on my thighs. Close the eyes down. We're going to take a few rounds of box breath. And that's a 4 count in, 4 count hold, 4 count out, 4 count hold. And we'll do a few rounds of that with the eyes closed, breathing in for 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, in, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Last 1, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. Breathing on your own, a few rounds. And then fluttering the eyes open. Let's take a final breath together, breathing in the infinite peace, infinite intelligence, infinite love, infinite joy that's all around us and within. Taking it deep into our hearts, receiving it. Just share with our families, our friends, our neighbors, and even those that trigger us. The light in me cherishes, delights, and honors that same light in you, Divine Legend. Namaste. May you find that balance in your life.